to take up the questions here. All
Yeah.
right? Because it will be more interesting to know
Yeah.
what on the ground we're really thinking about. Okay, so now my company collect renting only. How should I issue my e-invoice to collect the rental?
If you are a company, basically having a property, as far as our definition is concerned, you are an investment holding company. You are in the business of investment holding company. So you will issue your e-invoice to your tenant. Yeah, you will issue the e-invoice to your tenant. However, if you are an individual, landlord, okay, then you don't need to issue an e-invoice to your tenant. If your tenant are doing business, your tenant will self-bill themselves. So meaning they will issue an invoice on your behalf, right? E-invoice has a few types. In our book, we mentioned that as well. So e-invoice will be invoice, CN, DN, your discount note, your return notes, as well as self-bill. Self-bill means I, user, help you to bill. I substantiate my expenses. So, tricky part is this. A lot of individual landlords don't report tax. Okay, on their rental income. They say, no one's going to catch me. It's going to take so long, right? I'm only just renting my little squatters to the factory workers. However it is, the amount is actually small. So right now the law says is the tenant who are in business, they got to issue a self-bill on your behalf. So if the property is a joint name property, okay, the tenant will need to ask you, do I do a 50-50 on you? If a 50-50, then they will issue 2 self-bill invoice. So this information will go through the system. So in your personal tax, right, your rental income is there already. Okay, so like I said, e-invoice in Malaysia is very interesting, right? The government is helping you to fill your tax return form to a certain way. Yeah, it's very different from e-invoicing in some other country may not have that plugin, right? The oldest e-invoicing, like for example China, it is more like I monitor the invoice number. Okay, I know how many invoice number that goes out. I need you to pay a VAT on it, then you can use the invoice notes. But in Malaysia, because we implement it now, so with AI, with data collections, in the picture is very different. So they collect your records as you do your business.
I'm thinking about, let's say, the e-invoicing system that we have. Is that compatible with the e-invoicing system abroad in other countries? I mean, yeah. So is there any difficulties when it comes to...
Okay, now, like I said, for e-invoicing, right, its ultimate goal is my system to your system. It can be cross the country. So I need to be compatible in system with you. Okay, so that in Malaysia, I issue, then you get it in Germany, for example, or in China. That is the ultimate goal. But we are a long way to get to that goal, to be very honest, as we speak. Because we do not force upon the PayPal linkages. We do not force upon that. It's optional. It's for company to decide because there are costs involved. 97% of our businesses are SME, still very domestic. Market are very domestic. Going abroad is still not a norm for SME yet. Yeah, so that is at the moment is not. And government to government, everyone implement e-invoice at a different stage. Brazil, for example, done 20 over years ago. All right. So everyone have different system. But e-invoicing, the ultimate goal is that accounting system, not the government. Yeah, it's not the government. The government do different things with the e-invoicing. Malaysia, e-invoicing environment, the government collect your data at the same time. Yeah, some people may use it differently. Malaysia, we don't have a VAT, we don't have a GST. So hence, it may be different on what they see behind the scene on that particular transactions.
Okay, all right. So let's go to the second question. E-invoice replace payment voucher? That's the question. So if issue payment voucher to supplier, is that tax deductible?
Okay, e-invoice does not replace payment voucher. Payment voucher is your internal documents. Payment voucher is your accounting documents to tell what are the details of your payments. E-invoice is not. Okay, but I wanted to use this question to maybe tell you about deductibility. In fact, when Malaysia wanted an e-invoice, right, they wanted e-invoice to do two proving. One is proof income, another one is proof expenses. That's what they wanted to do. So what does that mean? That actually means like, okay, for my income, I need to ensure that I am issuing e-invoice at all time. For me to come to my profitability is income minus expenses. My expenses also have to be 100% supported with e-invoice. That's what the initial intention was. Yeah. So hence the proving of expenses required to be proved using e-invoice. However, as the implementation come out, the Rakyat responded, right? So at the moment, the inner revenue delay the implementation of proving of expenses. They actually delay it for the time being. They have not given a date to it. Yeah, but they delay it. So meaning to say, Malaysia, we are still allowing normal invoices flying around.
I thought by the time when I issue that e-invoice as my revenue, then that numbers or that data will automatically go to the expenses of the other party as well.
Yes, it does. Yeah, but that other party may have expenses which is not e-invoices. Like for example, those under 150 million, they are still invoices supporting the payment vouchers are normal invoices.
Okay.
Yeah, so it will not impact your deductibility at the moment. Yeah, but I must tell you, the inner revenue ultimate intention, the end game of the whole thing is it has to be approved for expenses. The law will eventually change to cater for that. It's the matter of time.
All right.
Repay no e-invoice can issue self-bill invoice. Very good question. Very good question. Now, say for example, this is my office, right? So I get an Indonesian worker to come and repair it. Because local renovator very expensive. Yes, I hear people say yes. So everyone is actually using that, is it? Okay, so I'm actually using don't know who to go and do the job. Because in Malaysian mindset, business mindset is so long as it's done, I really don't care what's the... Yeah, correct. We're looking at outcome driven, okay. Now, under the e-invoice environment, okay, at this present moment, you can only do self-bill if it is not business. The person who supply to you is not in business. There are 8 sectors that mentioning it. Unfortunately, if the Indonesian worker who do the plaster ceiling, doing your tiling, he drive a BMW and with his Indonesian worker coming and whatever, right? He's actually doing business. So this question is not new. This question has been posted multiple times to the inner revenue. I won't say there is, I don't think there is a straightforward answer at this point in time. Inner revenue official answer to you is always, please deal with the people then who's legal. Yeah, who can give you an e-invoice. So to go back to what we talked about, the staying competitiveness, or should I say staying relevant in the longer run, right? If I must prove that I can deduct the expenses at all time, I got to go with somebody there who is in that e-invoice environment. Yeah, at the moment, you can still do this. All right, you take the normal receipt, you just claim lah. You are business as usual, right? No need to worry about it until such time. So you don't sell bill. You don't sell bill as of now. Okay, proving of expenses at the moment is not required.
For F&B businesses, example, does each and every customer we need to seek for e-invoice approval?
No. Basically, for F&B, we talk about these are B2C businesses. B2C businesses, what is expected of you is only once a month consolidated submission. That's all you have to do.
Irrespective of the level of revenue?
Yes, correct. Okay, so Now, what if I decided to take my staff to, okay, nowadays we cannot say KFC, we cannot say McDonald's. We have to say Hungry Jack. No Hungry Jack. What's the local fast food? Mary Brown. Wow, very good. Okay, I take my staff to Mary Brown. 30 of them sitting down there. I would definitely ask for e-invoice, right? Right? Okay, we go to Mary Brown to actually eat. I will ask for it. So I can tell you, okay, it depending on how Mary Brown does the SOP now. Mary Brown can do this within themselves. Okay, in their steering committee and their working group coming out with initiative and the implementation plan and suggestion. Okay, they can do two ways. One way is they can do it this way. Okay, we don't care about them. We ask them to write into head office. Can or not? Can what? You set your rules. Because the expenses is not a big issue at the moment. Okay? That can be one of the SOP that they said. Or they say, no. Because we always have corporate people coming, so we got to be a lot more adoptive. So we may say, okay, go to next counter. This person will handle it for you. That is also can be a suggestion, right? Within their implementation plan. The third one, they can do it this way. Within their post system, they write a note. If you ever wanted to actually have a e-invoice, apologize, I can't attend at my post system, but please write to this particular, whereby I will give it to you in 7 days. Also possible. So like I said, every company, they will do their e-invoice adoption to satisfy their customer differently. Yeah, so it is the business owner who also need to actually see their journey of adopting by understanding the capacity and the the support that they have internally in the company, and how much budget they have to improve on that, whether it's a headcount or whether it's an equipment, and what will be the flow of satisfying the market needs on e-invoicing.
Next question is, how about restaurant business?
How does e-invoicing work for them? I think I have answered in a way. Yeah, it will be similar. It will be similar. Right, if we go back to GST environment, one important thing for the company that is, say for example, okay, my businesses work in such a way that every time we have our project completed, we will have a celebration. Okay, that is my business. That is how I do my business. So you will have a group of people you need to do their e-invoice, should I say, education, which is your sales team, or your project team, or your manager, the person then who can claim, to tell them what they have to do. One way is during the GST environment, we talk about 500 ringgit, GST environment. My office approach is, the moment that we know, okay, there will be a makan that is going to be above 500, the finance person already will then be the person that will approach the restaurant to say that, I preempt you upfront, we will need to actually have a GST invoice. Yeah, so I believe for e-invoice environment, it will be the same. If your business always have a sales team or managers who do this kind of big celebration, they need to constantly have a claim. You need to have certain SOP for them. For example, do they need to tell the finance to do certain check and balance with the restaurant that they are going for? Or do you want to just allow the claim as it is because the law says it's okay? You just come home with the claim by asking them just to give the IC number? Or what will be the approach? Finance people, how fast you need to actually have the invoice to see whether they do the right thing, so that you can help them to cancel the invoice by contacting the restaurant to reissue another invoice. Those are all the flow that you actually have to take note. So for you as a restaurant, you need to understand from your POS system, you need to understand from your POS system what type of customer you normally have. Is it family come to eat, or your businesses is, some restaurants come with a 20-seater round table. Yeah, those are the restaurants who always going for corporate dinners. Corporate dinner, corporate networking, corporate whatever. So they need to look into, do they want to have a separate way to cater for e-invoice issuance on the spot? Yeah, so your dealing with your IT need to be discussed according to that level. Yeah. So if you are going to look into your POS system for e-invoice, you must at the same time do certain extra thing for yourself. That is, do you wanted to ask the IT to also analyze the customer so that you have a report, you understand your customer. You know, that is a journey for you to digitize yourself, to improve your own service, to understand your customer needs, to move forward to be a modern and relevant company in the longer run. You're going to spend money already anyway. Do you want to collect more data yourself? Yeah, there will be a lot more things to do.
All right, so how about Airbnb type businesses? If I have 10 apartments, reservations come through from my platforms like Booking.com. So how does e-invoicing work?
Okay, platform, if I remember correctly, e-commerce, they actually have a separate guide. They actually make the platform be the issuers of e-invoice. Yeah, so you do need to actually look into, or rather, I don't know who is the party to actually ask for, okay, to look into that sector. How will be the platform assisting you? Because including Grab, including Shopee, including e-platform, right? They make the platform themselves assisting you to issue all the invoices. So they are in the era of invoicing and self-bill invoicing to balance their own book. Yeah. So you will probably rely on your overall statement. Today is second day of implementation. I don't know how much change there will be. You may want to just click in and to see whether your merchant account, any changes or not in the statement. In Malaysia at the moment, it is only utilities, electricity, water, they allow, I think phone as well, they eventually allows it, whereby the statements, the oral statements, the company, utility companies, right, they can upload this statement and then give a QR code and then call it deemed to be an e-invoice environment. So Inland Revenue collect all data. Inland Revenue collect your utility data, your water data, everything they are collecting, because everyone is submitting all this information up with all the detail of taxpayers. Sometimes income, sometimes expenses, doesn't matter. You don't have to worry for the Inland Revenue what they're going to do with the documents. Okay, you don't have to worry. You just have to understand that they're collecting data.
All right. Is it in future must have e-invoice to pay, or we can pay first?
This is your own control. If you are a small business whereby the bosses is the one who issue the payment most of the time, the bosses definitely want flexibility to pay any money, anytime as they want, with or without invoices. Okay, but laughing. Right, but if the company are basically managed or run on the daily by the staff, I think the boss will say, okay, I need to have a control. Without saying this thing cannot go, this thing cannot go. So there is no straightforward answer to these particular questions. It's depending on the size of the company. But if you're talking about best practice is always to ease the finance team work. You must always have your valid, complete document before payment goes out. Yeah. So if I may just route back to the developer and property agent situation, that is where the tricky part is at. For the agent is, I help the developer to sell property. After that, I wait for the commission money to be allocated to me. Okay? So they are very passive in that sense. So today, if the SOP of the developer say, my account payable department is only going to process payment when I see an e-invoice, poor agency, they will have to issue a bill, right? Which is e-invoice, pay their tax and wait for the money to come 18, 24 months later sometime. Sometimes never come. Sometimes come with discount. So many different things, which is totally different from the current environment. So how you're going to do this, you must understand your business and your value chain. Who are in your downstream? Yeah. So like I said, e-invoice is just a trigger point for us to start a conversations about the overall look into our running of business already. Yeah. So it's not really a pure finance matter. Yeah, it can actually be a how do you call the entire business processes matter.
This is the second last question, third last. How about A and B operators?
My understanding is the platform is the one that who issue for you. So you can't run. So meaning they will self-bill. For the platform is they have to pay you money. All right, they have to pay you money. So they are not going to wait for you to invoice them. They're going to create that e-invoice on your behalf for you, right? So hence the platform is taking up that responsibility. Yeah, so there's no leakages. Let's not talk about A, B, and B. Let's talk about during the COVID, we have a lot of people selling pandan cake lah, whatever lah, you know, on platforms. Sometimes through WhatsApp, okay, friends to friends and friends, social media, whatever. Sometimes they may be up their products and services onto their sole prop, their whatever, and when they see the tax so high, they close the company, doctor. They don't report tax and they set up another one. You know, all kinds of things. You do not know. What does the SMEs do, right? All right, so right now is the platform is being entrusted with the duty of helping them to issue an e-invoice. So there's no leakages. Out of our shadow economy, a big chunk are e-commerce businesses. Yeah. So hence they put it to the responsibility of the person who pay you the money to help you with your e-invoice so that you don't forget. You don't forget.
So if our company has salesmen that we are paying them sales commission, understand the salesman can self-bill, but if the company actually invoices the salesman, would it be linked to personal income tax? Okay,
your salesman, I believe, will be your employee. So if your salesman is your employee, then they don't need to do all this self-billing, right? So self-billing is actually for non-employees. So we're talking about the gig economy, the freelancer, and the commission earners, basically commission earners and agents.
If I want to claim for my company F&B expenses, how does that mean I can only go for e-invoicing compliant restaurant?
At the moment, no, because there is no compulsory force on deductibility on expenses. At the moment, no, right? Well, you never know. It will come a day that when the compliance is required, then unless the non-compliance one give you very cheap, you still go because the tax is negligible, all right? Otherwise, you probably wanted to stick to a compliance base. Like I said, if this e-invoicing really implement as what it first initial wanted to push forward in the efficient economy, transparency kind of income flow, right, with proving of expenses, etc., right? Rightfully, this is the environment. It's not about you cheap, I cheap. It's about are you in my game?
Okay, so if you use the Indonesian contractor to do work, pays there 250, with just a simple bill with no contractor data, this cannot be declared as expenses anymore, correct?
It can at the moment. It can at the moment because there's no need to prove it as expenses for deductibility at the moment. So you can at the moment, right? But you make sure that the person still write you something lah.
Are they in the future? No need for auditor.
Do you know what? I went to this particular forum, which is a forum hosted by Inland Revenue themselves, with 54 trade associations and Chamber of Commerce. So I went there as one of the member under one of the association, and then in that particular forum, the similar question was posted, right? Why do we need an auditor then? Why does my compliance cost still require to have an auditor? The Inland Revenue actually answered, the CEO himself actually answered this question to say that, look, if everything is as efficient as we want, as transparent as we want, okay, you are right to say that auditing would then become a secondary importance already. It will. As of now, did you realize we always say, wow, Singapore so good, 5 million and below, 5 million and below, you do not need to do an audit exemption, etc. Why Malaysia do not actually have that? Doctor, how are we going to have that? Our special voluntary disclosure program, 66,000 people, just now I said, 6,000 try to comply with paying 100 ringgit, and then another 50,000 paid below 10,000 ringgit per person. You know, So you are trying to tell, you know, like this place there are no 300 tael of gold, right? You know, in Chinese there's a saying, right? Right? There are no gold at this place, you know. So you put a little stick there, you know. So we are not there in mindset yet, unfortunately. So in the future, if everything moves as efficient as it wants, leakages are being managed, there is a possibility that auditor may be of secondary importance. I will not say no need, but secondary important.
All right, so thank you very much for Agnes for all the insights they share with us. I mean, this is probably the best explanations about e-invoicing that I've heard in the past couple of months. Because it really opened my eyes. E-invoicing is not just about how to do tax. It is really about how to do business.
Yes.
By thinking or leveraging on this, how to do tax. You know. So thank you very much again, Agnes, and thank you very much for all the questions and for your presence. So.